It's interesting and informative, and given the subject matter, brief. So, I'm here today to talk to you about insurance and risk management for IT professionals. With the rapid advancement of technology and the increased use and reliance upon the internet, insurance for IT professionals is a needed thing. IT professionals are under tremendous pressure to deliver specialized services and advice, as well as to protect their own corporate and personal assets. Our society is becoming more and more litigious. The number of lawsuits against IT professionals has been increasing steadily every year. Reputable and capable lawyers are working on contingency fees, which means that it is easier than ever for disgruntled parties to initiate legal action against IT professionals. Many consultants have been operating without insurance or with inadequate amounts of insurance. In some cases, people have built sizable practices, large clients, offices, infrastructure, staff, without even so much as having a basic insurance program in force. Our firm deals with that type of situation on an almost daily basis, and often it's the demand of a contractual agreement with a new client that becomes the impetus for a firm to take out insurance. And for those clients that come to us in these situations, we always tell them the same thing. Congratulations on your insurance-free run. You've done very well up to this point. Now let's get you some proper coverage before somebody sues you and you lose everything. So what I'd like to do today is just explain the various types of insurance that an IT professional should have, how they work, and why they're important. Starting off with the big one, errors and omissions insurance. Errors and omissions insurance provides financial protection and legal defense against lawsuits arising from mistakes or negligent actions committed by professionals while acting in their professional capacity. E&O insurance covers both legal fees and any settlements up to the amount of coverage that you purchase. Today's world has changed greatly from that of even 5 years ago, and one of the most significant changes is a public that is quick to assign blame and initiate lawsuits. Larger and more frequent damage awards have created an environment where professionals must take measures to protect themselves, their businesses, and their reputation from allegations or negligent acts. Errors and omissions insurance, or E&O insurance, is the kind of protection that is recommended for these allegations or threats, whether or not they have merit. Why have public attitudes changed so dramatically towards professionals? Well, part of the reason is that the public is more informed of its legal and contractual rights, and rightly or wrongly, many now believe that legal action should be initiated from any turn of event, particularly those that did not result as expected. In addition, the media continues to sensationalize these lawsuits, and furthermore, lawyers have also become more aggressive in seeking extensive settlements. The traditional trusting relationship between a client and a professional has changed as well, and expectations of professionals have increased. Public awareness has also been heightened as a result of recent corporate wrongdoings where actions by top-level executives have adversely affected their company's bottom lines. E&O insurance is an excellent form of protection for both the professional and their clients. This highly specialized coverage considers the potential risks of a given profession, situation, or activity. It defends the insured person or company against any frivolous allegations of negligence or wrongdoing, thereby protecting the assets of the individual or company. In the case of a client who has suffered damages, it ensures that there are adequate funds for compensation. Professionals in every industry spend years attaining expert status and reputation. E&O insurance is an integral part of protecting that reputation, enabling them to continue to provide skilled services, expertise, and specialized advice to their clients. E&O insurance can protect you against third-party allegations relating to intellectual property infringement, security breaches, privacy breaches, and personal injury arising out of the dissemination or distribution or display of data by means of a website, the internet, an intranet, or similar device or system designed or intended for electronic communication of data. And it also provides for defense costs in addition to the damages. E&O insurance forms the core component of an IT professional's insurance program. The amount of coverage carried depends on the nature and scope of the individual firm's activities. We normally recommend that small firms carry a minimum of $500,000 of E&O coverage to $1 million, depending on what they're doing, and that larger firms carry a minimum amount of $1 million to $2 million. Depending on what you're doing and who you're working for, a contract may stipulate the amount of coverage that you have to carry. Second thing I'm going to talk about is commercial general liability insurance. So commercial general liability insurance is always purchased in conjunction with errors and omissions insurance. You can't have one without the other. And if you enter into a contractual agreement with a client, pretty much all of those contracts stipulate that the contractor has to carry both of them. General liability insurance is purchased in conjunction with, and it's complementary to, errors and omissions insurance, and it protects the consultant or the firm against claims arising from bodily injury, property damage, personal injury, and non-owned vehicle coverage. Non-owned automobile coverage basically covers you if you have an employee and they use their vehicle while doing their job, while working for you. They get involved in an accident, and then as a result of any subsequent litigation, you or your firm get drawn into a third-party lawsuit. One of the things you want to make sure when you're purchasing commercial general liability insurance is that it provides you with the territory applicable to the area in which you're working. Given the nature of the internet, it is conceivable that a consultant in Canada could be doing work for companies all over the world. You want to make sure that when you purchase general liability insurance, that the coverage provides for a worldwide territory. Most of the time, those policies will only cover you for suits brought in Canada or the United States, but you can purchase coverage on a pure worldwide basis, so the insurance company will defend you in court wherever you might be. So commercial general liability insurance, it should be purchased in conjunction with E&O. Generally speaking, smaller firms should purchase a minimum limit of $1 million and seriously consider purchasing $2 million. Larger firms should purchase a minimum amount of $2 million and look at $5 million. If you ever have to buy this coverage, it is always good to get an optional price on increased amounts. Generally speaking, the cost to increase the coverage, general liability coverage, is minimal. And lastly, I'm going to talk about property insurance coverage. Property insurance coverage, it is what it says it is. It can be purchased to cover your office furniture, fixtures, equipment, computers, laptops, any property that you use in conjunction with your business. And if you get to the point where you lease a premises or you purchase a condominium unit or something like that for your company, lease terms will often dictate that you as the tenant have to have insurance. And obviously if you purchase a premises that you own, then you have to insure that as well. I have a question here. How many people think that if you have a home office and let's say it's in your basement and your basement floods, how many people here think that your house insurance policy covers that 100%?
I know it doesn't, because I had a friend who it happened to.
Yeah, what happened to
They
them?
were surprised. I suggested to them create a fund, like on an online fund me account, so
Yeah.
people can donate to it, because it was pretty horrible. It was during one of the storms.
How much did they lose?
I can't recall at the time, but it was over $10,000.
Yeah. So if you have a home office that you use in conjunction with your business, you need to double check, first of all, your homeowner's insurance policy. All of them have a sub-limit, which simply means a maximum amount that they will pay for business property. And depending on the type of policy you have and the insurance company that's providing it, it could be as little as $500, and generally speaking, they cover between $1,000 and say $3,000 or $4,000. So in the case of your friend who had 10,000 bucks worth of stuff,
It was over that, I can't
Or-
remember if it
or
was 16
more,
or
yeah.
28.
you'll get a nasty surprise if you have a fire or a flood or someone breaks and enters into your house and steals the stuff. So in that particular scenario, you absolutely have to purchase a separate insurance policy to cover your business contents. I also wanted to share with you some claims examples that our office has dealt with over the years, specifically relating to IT issues. So the first one was an errors and omissions claim and some subsequent business interruption as well. The defendant, the client, the policyholder, was a web hosting company, and it upgraded its servers and transferred website files to the new server. In the process, some original files were deleted without backup. The plaintiff, which in this case was a golf resort, alleged that it suffered damages as a result of its website interruption and deletion. The amount claimed was $30,000, and the settlement reached was $10,000. So the policy paid for the legal fees that were involved in defending that, and then paid the $10,000 out. The second claim was an E&O, an errors and omissions claim arising out of an integration problem. And what happened there is the defendant, who was a consultant and a systems integrator, contracted with the plaintiff to consult on hardware and software system design. The plaintiff alleged that the software was deficient and that it was installed in a negligent manner. The plaintiff also alleged that it incurred further damages in order to keep its system operating. The amount claimed by the plaintiff was $300,000. It is presently in litigation, and I believe the legal fees on it have already topped $75,000, $80,000. And the last one is an E&O software malfunction that involved a counterclaim. So the defendant, who is a consultant, contracted with the plaintiff to provide call handling capabilities for the plaintiff's call center. The customer signed a licensing agreement for the recommended software, and after installation, it was determined that the system failed to perform as represented by the consultant. The customer sued the defendant for damages, including business interruption, because of lost calls. This was a counterclaim initiated by the customer after the consultant initially sued for outstanding fees. Legal fees on this file currently exceed $100,000. So that's some of the things that can happen, and certainly the clients that purchased those policies are very happy right now that they did. I figured I'd pre-answer some questions. What we get asked most of all from people that come to us for this insurance is, what are the costs of it? So generally speaking, smaller firms, individual consultants that have incorporated a holdco through which they're billing, you can expect to pay between $1,500 and $2,500 a year for errors and omissions and general liability insurance. It depends on what you do and where you're doing it. If you're doing a lot of work in the United States, I don't know how many of you know, but the U.S. legal environment, it's extremely aggressive. People are very litigious, and if you do a lot of business down there, the cost to insure the business that you're doing down there is much higher than it is to insure it in Canada. So if you're doing a lot of work in the United States, you can expect those numbers to be a little bit higher. People that are operating slightly larger operations, perhaps you've got 1 or 2 staff people working for you, you've got some larger contracts that demand higher limits of coverage, you can look to pay between $2,500 and $5,000 a year. Again, depending on what you're doing, how much you're doing it by way of billings, and where you're doing it by way of geographic distribution. And how are policy premiums determined? Policy premiums are determined based on what you're doing and how much of it you're doing. So the exact nature of your operations, and then the amount of billings that you're collecting and where you're collecting those billings from. And that's it for me. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And if you require any insurance, please don't hesitate to give us a call. You've got his number.